Four-door. You'll be impressed with the exceptional beauty and high quality of stained glass overlay. To win, watch Wheel of Fortune weeknights at 6:30. When you see the wheel deal on your screen, be the 13th caller with the right answer. Play Wheel Deal and win.
The scene from Little Rock last night as President-elect Bill Clinton and Vice President-elect Al Gore were accepting the nation's decision, and happy to do it, I'm sure.
Going to have to get used to saying President Bill Clinton. Let's find out what else is coming up tonight on the news at 6. Here's John.
Thank you, Lori. We're going to have much more on the David Gordon story. A fatal explosion, as you heard, 6 months after a fatal fire. And the Republicans take over control of the Iowa House. Scott Pope with that story. Edward DeJesus, guilty of murder once again. All these stories and the rest of the news in 1/2 hour.
All right, thank you, John, very much. Time now for Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. You want to hear more about the elections? You're about to. We'll see you here tomorrow.
Good night.
America's administration.
Bill Clinton reassures financial markets and warns foreign adversaries. Rebuilding the American economy. Clinton says it won't be easy. And health care, it's right at the top of the agenda, but how would it work?
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Reporting tonight from NBC News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. Bill Clinton was properly restrained today, and President Bush promised to go out with style. So the transition to a new era in American politics is off to a promising start. This election was historic for turnout alone. More than 100 million voters, about 55% of those eligible. And with almost all of the ballots counted, Bill Clinton, 43%, George Bush, 38%, Ross Perot, 19%. That's almost 1/5 the total, better than any third candidate in 80 years now. Clinton built his victory with support from every region, sweeping the far west, northeast, and New England, splitting the Rocky Mountain and southern states. There was a Bush belt in the Great Plains, but it was not enough. The electoral vote, 370 for Clinton, 168 for George Bush, none for Ross Perot. It's the kind of victory any president would cherish, and Bill Clinton is, but he doesn't want to make any rash moves tonight. NBC's Andrea Mitchell is in Little Rock at this hour. Andrea?
Tom, Bill Clinton's first act as president-elect was to reassure foreign leaders and financial markets that when he talks about change, he does not mean instability. Accompanied by Al Gore, Clinton delivered a carefully worded signal of continuity in foreign policy.
The greatest mistake any adversary could make would be to doubt America's resolve during this period of transition.
Equally important, his message to nervous financial markets.
Today I say to our financial and business leaders that although change is on the horizon, we understand the need to pursue stability even as we pursue new growth.
Gore and Clinton had their first formal meeting with their transition team only this afternoon. Clinton is not ready to name his top economic or foreign policy advisors. He did meet with Democratic Party Chairman Ron Brown, who may play a major role.
I am not looking for a job. Clearly, over the next several days, there will be a lot of discussions about a lot of things, and I'll certainly be involved in those discussions.
Clinton learned quickly that his life has changed forever. Being a candidate is tough. Being president-elect is even tougher. A morning walk to visit old friends was cut short by a mob of TV cameras. He had to duck into a car instead. His mother dropped by.
Oh, wonderful, Andrea. How are you?
And his friends provided a little pomp and circumstance. These are the grade school and college friends who've been his support system since the beginning.
I was happy, exhausted, and thinking about all the work still to be done.
The campaign staff that ran Clinton's highly focused campaign was trying to limit expectations today.
I think the combination of very frankly telling people that this won't be easy and at the same time challenging them to change their country and to take their country back will serve to put the expectations in a proper light.
But Clinton has given people reason to hope that he can improve their lives.
Today, the steel worker and the stenographer, the teacher and the nurse had as much power in the mystery of our democracy as the president, the billionaire, and the governor.
Fulfilling his promise of hope will be Clinton's greatest challenge. Today was still for celebrating. Tomorrow he gets down to the hard part. Tom?
Thanks, Andrea. Your colleague John Cochran, as you can see, is back at the White House tonight, where President Bush returned this afternoon from Texas. John?
Tom, unlike public statements from the president and his top aides, privately there is deep resentment and bitterness over their crushing loss. What we saw in public this afternoon was a president accepting defeat gracefully as he returned to an emotional welcome from administration workers. Both he and his wife seemed touched by the gesture of longtime supporters.
Maybe you didn't read the election returns. It didn't work out quite the way we wanted. But I can think of nothing other to say than let's finish this job with style. Let's get the job done, cooperate fully with the new administration.
For now, though, it's time to recharge batteries. Bush heads for Camp David tomorrow. Asked to explain what went wrong, campaign manager Bob Tater said every time Bush tried to build up speed, something happened. Ross Perot's charges of Republican dirty tricks caught Bush off guard. White House aides tell NBC News Bush is furious with FBI Director William Sessions for approving a sting operation to examine Perot's charges. The White House also suspects, but has no proof, that politics was involved in the release last Friday of evidence linking Bush to the arms for hostages deal with Iran. While Bush's aides are stewing over the past, Senator Bob Dole was sounding like an undeclared candidate for the '96 race. After talking to Ross Perot, Dole said he hopes Perot supporters will help the Republican Party expand its base.
I want to unify the Republican Party to bring together a coalition that can have a real impact on national policy.
Dole, at least, already has a job. White House aide Ron Kaufman said that last night his 11-year-old daughter asked whether another White House official would now be out of a job. Her 13-year-old sister said, "Dummy, every adult you know is about to lose his job." Tom?
Bittersweet comment, John. Thank you. Throughout the campaign, of course, Ross Perot was like a pinball machine with all the whistles going and the lights flashing. But from moment to moment, we didn't know whether he was going to run up a big score or go tilt. As NBC's Lisa Myers tells us, it was not a tilt.
You are not hallucinating. Perot was so thrilled with his showing last night that he couldn't resist being a political tease. After all, he won a bigger percentage of the vote than any third candidate this century other than Teddy Roosevelt in 1912. He carried 20% or more of the vote in 30 states, won 30% in Maine, 29 in Utah, 28 in Idaho, and 27 in Kansas and Alaska. Perot reached out to Clinton, but also made it clear he considers himself and his followers a political force.
Now, the fact that we will go anywhere, anytime, and do anything that's good for our country to help the new administration as an organization does not mean that we will compromise our principles or integrity.
If Clinton proposes serious deficit reduction, Perot could be a valuable ally. But Perot has a habit of giving executives advice and then getting miffed when they don't follow it. And Perot told his supporters they have an option if Clinton doesn't deliver.
We always got the safety valve, right? We got the safety valve. You can bring that old stray dog out from the dog pound again.
The stray dog, of course, is what Perot calls himself. Today, the head of Perot's volunteer organization, United We Stand, said the group will become self-supporting and may form a third party.
So I think the basis for a third party is there.
As for Ross Perot, well, today he was back in the billionaire business. He says for now he plans to make money instead of spending it on TV commercials. Lisa Myers, NBC News, with the Perot campaign in Dallas.
And of course, this election reshaped Congress as well. Here's how. The Senate Democrats stand at 57 now, Republicans 42. That's down one, but one race still undecided. Overall, 11 new faces in the Senate, including 4 women, 2 from California, Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein. Patty Murray won in Washington. Illinois' Carol Moseley Brown became the Senate's first black woman. The new House, 259 Democrats, 175 Republicans, 1 independent. That's a net loss of 9 Democratic seats, 109 new members. That's 1/4 of the entire House. When Nightly News continues in a moment, we'll take a look at the many challenges ahead for economic revival.
Oh, yeah, we're going to twist. Tater Twister, big surprise. Cuts and shapes, some curly fries.
Presto Tater Twister Electric Curly Cutter cuts potatoes and other vegetables automatically into curly cuts. Fry some crisp curly fries, onion strings, zucchini curls too. Tater Twister pays for itself in the money it saves. Even spiral cuts, potatoes with a new twist, nutritious hot dishes, fancy things. Clean up fast, easy, fun.
Tater Twister!
And Pro Tater Twister.
If you hold your nose, you can't really taste things because your sense of smell is so important to taste. That's why great aroma is so important to Folgers. Here, smell for yourself. Come on, it's new TV technology. You smell that? They use aroma-roasted mountain-grown beans, then they specially grind them. No wonder people like Folgers better than this other coffee. No contest.
Folgers, aroma so rich, you can taste it.
The latest word tonight on the nation's economic health from the Federal Reserve: housing, retail sales, and construction all improving, but overall economic activity is increasing only at a slow and uneven pace. That news and post-election concerns on Wall Street helped push stocks down today. Trading, however, was active. The economy, of course, has been the nemesis of President Bush, and NBC's chief financial correspondent Mike Jensen is here to take a look at what the chances are now for the economy. Mike?
Tom, Bill Clinton's economic advisors were working on that today, but last night they were savoring the moment. Professor Alan Blinder, who recommended tax incentives to get the economy moving, celebrating Clinton's victory.
The mantra of the Clinton administration will be investment. Investment in people, investment in public infrastructure, and investment in private capital.
That's all well and good, but Bill Clinton promised change, and now people expect it in a hurry.
I'll give him 100 days. That's about it.
But here's the problem. 17 million Americans are unemployed or forced to work part-time. Companies are still laying off, and the government has no money to help. Bill Clinton's plan to stimulate business and create jobs includes an investment tax credit for companies, a capital gains tax cut for investors in small businesses, and $20 billion in spending on infrastructure, things like roads and bridges. That could create 1 million jobs. He'd finance it with higher taxes on the rich and on foreign corporations and big cuts in defense. But all that would take months and need congressional approval. So for the short term, Clinton's advisors have more of a hope than a plan. They hope that Clinton's victory will make consumers more confident, spend more, so factories will produce more. That means more hiring, so people would have more money to spend. Meantime, Clinton is being careful not to spook the financial markets. He says he'll reduce the deficit gradually. And he has surrounded himself with very mainstream economic advisors. These people are being talked about for possible White House jobs. They're mainly investment bankers and economists. Clinton needs to reassure investors that he's not a big spender. That would send interest rates shooting up. Bond prices would fall, and so would stocks. So he's being cautious. Business and financial executives are not nearly as worried about Clinton as they usually are about Democrats. They see him as moderate and pro-business. Tom?
Thank you, Michael. In reacting to jobs and wallets as the key issue in this election, voters often mention the high cost of health care as well. What to expect from a Clinton administration there? NBC Science correspondent Robert Bazell.
Joan Samuelson, who has Parkinson's disease, has a very personal view of Clinton's victory.
It may mean my life is saved instead of lost.
Clinton has promised to lift the ban on federal funds for transplants from aborted human fetuses. Many scientists think the transplants could treat not just Parkinson's, but many afflictions.
Now, finally, the government will be on our side working with us to try to make that progress happen.
The Clinton administration will also change other policies that have been dictated by the anti-abortion movement and the religious right, such as the banning of RU-486, the French abortion pill that shows promise as a treatment for several diseases. A big change should come in the fight against AIDS. There is not likely to be more money for AIDS, but Clinton has promised a coordinated effort and a shift in moral tone that could affect AIDS education and other public health efforts.
A less judgmental kinds of approach, a more medicalized kind of approach actually will permit us to go a lot farther with many of the problems that are sort of tearing America to pieces right now.
But changing the moral tone will be simple compared to fulfilling one of Clinton's major campaign promises, affordable health care for all Americans. Many health economists say Clinton's plans for cutting health costs are vague and insufficient. The savings he has promised will take profits from insurance companies, private hospitals, drug companies, doctors, and others.
The special interest will throw in a great deal of money into the fight, and they will probably do what they can to thwart health care reform.
Health legislation is likely to be a major factor by which the Clinton administration is judged. If Clinton and the Democratic Congress enact significant reform, it could be an achievement comparable to the Social Security legislation of the 1930s. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
Healthcare, of course, was one of the most vocal issues of this campaign. Urban problems, on the other hand, one of the most silent. So now the question, how high will cities rate on the Clinton agenda? More on that from NBC's Robert Hager tonight.
Project's waiting. In Atlanta, the 100-year-old Forsyth Street Viaduct remains open only because it's temporarily held up by big steel jacks. The viaduct needs replacing, but there's been no money. In New York City, $2 billion worth of badly needed street and bridge repairs postponed. When interest groups line up to present their wish list to the president-elect, financially strapped state and city governments will be up front. A majority of both mayors and governors are Democrats and eagerly await dealing with one of their own in the White House. Already today, the U.S. Conference of Mayors wrote the president-elect requesting an early meeting. For cities, the public works issue tops the agenda because so much needs repair and because the construction puts people to work right away. Jobs are created. The mayors have a list of 7,000 projects they say are ready to go as soon as there's money. Atlanta Mayor Maynard Jackson heads the Rebuild America coalition.
There's no way to turn America around without turning the cities around. Whatever happens to the cities will happen to America. So we're optimistic.
But states are also struggling to pay for education and other programs. Governors Association Chairman Roy Romer of Colorado today ticked off concerns states hope to turn around.
The federal deficit, health care costs, investing in education and training. States are going to have an opportunity to come to the table in a stronger way, I believe. And, you know, it's going to provide us just a new energy.
And states complain loudest about costs of Medicaid, dictated by the federal government. Clinton's promised solutions, but they're costly. So states and cities plan to hold him to those promises. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
When Nightly News continues in a moment, voters tell Congress there's a limit.
When your sinus and nasal congestion feels this bad, what can you do? Last year, you wanted to call the doctor. Last year, you wanted a prescription. But this year, Tavist-D in its full prescription strength is available without a prescription. Just one tablet helps relieve 12 hours worth of painful congestion and sneezing.
Guess what? I'll be there after all.
Tavist-D. One tablet, 12 hours, and now no prescription.
My granny's spaghetti recipe. With ordinary grated topping? Oops. Some are 1/3 fats and fillers, but Kraft is 100% grated Parmesan for 100% great taste. Granny would approve.
No one has to tell you that doing business today is more challenging than ever. But all over the world, one company is helping you meet those challenges head on, no matter what it takes. New challenges, new thinking.
It's a kick. You got your vitamin A, your vitamin C. I like it because it has those beta-carotenes in it. What's that word?
Beta-carotenes. It's zippy kind of thing, a zippy thing.
Below the presidential line on Tuesday, voters wrestled with a variety of state ballot issues. Term limits for elected officials catching on across the country. On the ballot in 14 states, approved in all 14. Abortion rights measures in 2 states. Maryland voters approved a proposal guaranteeing the right of abortion under state law. In Arizona, however, a measure to ban abortion except to save the mother's life, that was defeated. Gay rights, Oregon voters rejected a proposal to officially label homosexuality as being abnormal. But in Colorado, a setback for gays, voters deciding that gays and lesbians should not be protected under state anti-discrimination laws. Time now for commentary from my partner, John Chancellor, taking a look at why the Republicans didn't run so well. John?
Tom,
Why was the Republican presidential campaign so badly handled? The Republicans are champions who have won 5 of the last 7 presidential elections. Their candidate this year, George Bush, had studied for 8 years with the master, Ronald Reagan, the most successful campaigner since Eisenhower. Why did the Republicans lose this one? Well, here's a theory that may explain part of their defeat. Reagan was a terrific campaigner because he always did what he was told to do. That's how he'd been trained in Hollywood. Walk this way, Mr. Reagan, say these words, then wave that flag. Reagan followed his instructions and always hit his marks. He spent more time than any president polishing his speeches. George Bush used this method to win the presidency 4 years ago. But when he got to be president, he refused to be Reagan. Acting was not done. The Phi Beta Kappa from Yale scorned the stagecraft of the Reagan crowd. It was skull and bones against the Screen Actors Guild. The president, thank you very much, would do it his way. This theory would explain why the Bush effort this fall seemed off course, why the Republican convention was so unhelpful to the president's cause, why the campaign seemed to lurch from issue to issue. The professionals couldn't control the candidate. And at the end, George Bush was out there on his own, shrill and frantic. The gentleman who got in trouble because he ignored the hired help. Tom?
Thank you, John. You may also recall our report on Monday on the religious right in San Diego. Well, roughly 2 out of 3 candidates from the religious right were defeated in local elections in that area.
I can't believe this incredible sense of lightness. I feel so light that I could float away. Could it be Stefan? Or new I can't believe it's not butter light. After all, it does have 1/3 fewer calories than butter, no cholesterol, and of course, great taste. It must be new I can't believe it's not butter light. I don't know anyone named Stefan.
Taste the light fantastic. New I can't believe it's not butter light.
When I hear the rain, I know I'm in for it. The dampness, the chill. Arthritis pain seems to come from every joint in my body. For pain like this, now instead of aspirin, I take Advil. Advil contains the same medicine my doctor often prescribes for arthritis pain. In fact, for minor arthritis pain, doctors recommend Advil most. With Advil, I'm on my way. Advil, tablets and caplets. Advanced medicine for pain.
Good old granola. Great for taste, but loaded with fat. Now there's Kellogg's low-fat granola. Half the fat of other leading brands, but all the great taste of whole grains, raisins, and almonds. Kellogg's low-fat granola. Great taste, half the fat.
Presto has a great idea.
Shoot some slices, shoot some shreds, shoot some salad, salad shooter.
Presto has a great big idea. Professional salad shooter slicer shredder. Big capacity, holds a lot, shoots a lot. Powerful, fast, a variety of cutting blades, so you can point and slice thick, slice thin, shred right into the bowl, even ripple cut. Chop, grate right where you want, clean up easy, dishwasher safe, store anywhere.
Salad shooter.
Original salad shooter and professional salad shooter from Presto.
Why Centrum Silver? Because you're over 50 and you're just hitting your stride. Centrum Silver vitamins. Because the latest scientific research about changing nutritional needs after 50 is built in. Centrum Silver. It's a great time to be silver.
America Close Up tonight. The voters spoke on Election Day loudly, and we found them still sounding off today about hopes, fears, about the future.
Change to lower the deficit and bring jobs back to the American people and make America a strong society again.
That the economy will turn around and that it will be felt at the level where we deal, and that's the level of the working poor.
Hopefully what the new president will do is to address these problems in a connected way rather than just sort of a scattershot approach.
I'm very excited because I really want to see a day when I don't have to worry about those patients and I don't have to worry about the last time they leave the office knowing they're not going to be able to get back here because they have no insurance.
Well, I just hope it'll be a more positive attitude in the spirit of the country.
Lower the taxes so there ain't so much taxes because my mom used to never have to work. Now she does.
Well, I would hope that the new administration would stick to their word and actually try and do the things that they said they were going to do when they got in office.
I'm feared that middle class and upper class income tax is going to go right through the roof.
Not simply the homeless, of which there are millions, not simply the destitute, of which there are millions, but those people working hard, 2 people in the household working, hardly making it, wondering what's going to happen next.
I'm afraid that the economy is such a big problem, and there are other problems that are so severe that they just can't be solved within a 4-year time block.
Another Jimmy Carter. And it's going to take another 10 years for the Republicans to recover from what what the Democrats will probably do. And then old Bush will come back, licking his lips in 4 years, saying, I told you so.
I guess I fear the racial divisions that no one talked about in this campaign. That scares me. I think that what happened in Los Angeles could be the first of a series of problems. And my prayer is that the kind of language that President Clinton used to draw people together will be something that he will be able to continue, because I think he really means it.
I'm just a little bit scared about these people. I mean, the president, because he don't have any experience.
The Democratic Party is a lot like giving a case of beer and throwing the car keys to a bunch of teenage boys.
I think that the congressmen will realize that our vote counts and that we're going to go out in droves when we don't like the situation the way it is.
This is a once-in-a-generation election, the kind that happened in 1932 and 1960. We have a huge mandate for change. 100 million people voted. Most of them voted for change.
Einstein, before he died, said, everything in the world has changed. Everything since the atom was split, except one thing, the way we think. And we have to think anew, freshly, now.
Of course, we'll be hearing a lot about the first baby boomer administration. 2 young men in their mid-40s running the country, shaping the world. Almost 30 years after the death of John F. Kennedy, his political offspring reclaimed the legacy and relished the responsibility. And like John F. Kennedy before them, they've excited a new generation of American voters. That alone is a promising beginning, for we need all the help we can get. That's Nightly News for Wednesday. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you again tomorrow night.
This man's incredibly close, comfortable shave comes from the Norelco razor. But to see how he got it, we must go back to when he began shaving. Not just above the skin, but below it. Here, our lift and cut system lifts the hair so when it's cut, it can drop below skin level without the blades touching your face. Try it, and you'll keep going back to Norelco for a perfect shave. Norelco, we make close, comfortable.
When you compare Bravada's Smart Track to Explorer's 4-wheel drive, it's easy to see who's in control of the situation and who's slipping up. Oldsmobile, the power of intelligent engineering. Up a steep grade, under slippery conditions, the Oldsmobile Bravada can beat the Ford Explorer, even with one boat tied behind its back. Oldsmobile, the power of intelligent engineering.
1 a.m., still awake. You've got the night flu. Theraflu introduces new maximum strength nighttime, the strongest hot liquid formula ever made. New maximum strength nighttime from Theraflu. Maximum flu relief so you can sleep.
I dreaded this visit to the doctor. I had stomach problems. You know, more chalky medicine to take. I mean, just getting it down is... But what my doctor told me about really blew my mind. New Mylanta gel caps.
Introducing the antacid with absolutely no chalky taste. New Mylanta gel caps. Potent antacid relief now in an easy-to-swallow gel cap. New Mylanta gel caps.
My doctor said Mylanta.
A late night snack. And no bag keeps it fresher than Ziploc brand storage bags. With the gripper zipper. Tough, tiny teeth you can feel gripping. So you know freshness is locked in.
Honey.
Caught red-handed. There's only one Ziploc.
Just ahead from your 24-hour news source, the body of a Des Moines dad overcome with grief, removed from an explosion. Another tragic chapter in an already sad story.
Iowa Democrats party late into the night celebrating Bill Clinton's big victory over George Bush.
But tonight, Bill Clinton's victory is about all they have to celebrate. I'm Scott Pope, a live report from the State House coming up.
And bragging rights in West Des Moines on the line tonight. Dowling and Valley meet in the playoffs. We'll have a live report.
And Gary Amble says, get used to the cold stuff. All coming up next on News Center 13 at 6.
It's the most innovative and exciting lineup in our history. Introducing Jeep and Eagle for 1993. See the technically advanced new Jeep Grand Cherokee and the sophisticated new Eagle Vision. Get a good look at the newly designed 2- and 4-door Eagle Summits, or slip into a portable, sporty Eagle Talon at this low price. But whatever you do, don't miss the 93s at your Jeep and Eagle dealer today.
See your local Jeep and Eagle dealer.
You know, when you treat folks right, do good work and stand behind it, word gets around. I appreciate it, man. That's why I always tell my customers to buy Quick Trip gasoline. You see, Quick Trip is known for treating folks right. They stand behind everything they sell. And that includes an unconditional guarantee on every gallon of gasoline you buy. Unconditional guarantee. With Quick Trip around, why take a chance anywhere else?
Oh, what is this? Looks good. Ooh. Ooh. Here we go. I got it. No. How about this one? No. Hey, maybe. No. Here, this'll work. No. Hey, I got it.
If you can't get your hands on a coupon, just call us.
Live from WHO TV 13, where the news comes first 24 hours a day. John Bachman, Kim Kerrigan, Rick Silvestrini with sports, and meteorologist Gary Amble with the weather. This is News Center 13 at 6.
Body bag.
A Des Moines family must grieve again. Another fatal fire claims another of their loved ones. And while Bill Clinton wins the White House, Iowa Republicans come up winners at the State House. Good evening. We'll have more on the day after the elections in a moment, but we begin tonight with a grief-stricken father.
Family members say he chose to die as his children did. It was last spring when fire killed David Gordon's 2 children and his mother-in-law. News Center 13's Jim Strickland reports that fire is being blamed for an explosion which took Gordon's life.
When they got there, firefighters knew this was no ordinary garage fire.
We thought somebody hit somebody in the street. We looked out front and there wasn't anything out there, so I ran to the other window. We looked out back and it was in flames.
The garage was in a lot left vacant after fire last spring gutted the house that had been here. 2 children and their grandmother were killed. As the children were buried, parents David Gordon and Kathy Dolan, who'd been vacationing at the time of the blaze, walked in grief behind their caskets. For David Gordon, the grieving apparently never stopped.
Body bag.
His body was discovered shortly after 12:30. His half-brother, Kenny Martin, was asked to identify Gordon at the scene. Martin says Gordon has been depressed ever since the deaths of his children.
He burned himself up. He couldn't take it no more without his kids.
Officials aren't ready to say for sure this was suicide, but they do say there was nothing located inside the shed that would be responsible for an accidental explosion.
There's no electricity that I can see to the building. There's no gas lines, no LP. I'm just not sure what it's caused at this point.
Family members say they must now pray that Gordon's wife can cope. Fire's taken her mom, 2 kids, and now her husband. Jim Strickland, News Center 13.
The investigation into the fire continues. Deputy Medical Examiner Dr. Francis Garrity says an autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow morning.
The dust now starting to settle on last night's election, and what a night it was. Iowa Democrats gathering in Des Moines couldn't contain themselves when Bill Clinton was announced the next president of the United States. This morning, Central Iowans buried their heads in the morning papers, checking the returns on all the key races. For the campaigns, the work is over. The Bush Quail headquarters in Des Moines boxed up the bumper stickers, put away the envelopes, and disconnected the phones today. However, as News Center 13 Scott Pope reports, while the GOP may have lost the presidency, it did very well in state races.
Bill Clinton carried Iowa, but his coattails were very short.
And when the General Assembly is gavelled into session next year, there will be plenty of new faces, most of them Republican. A 10-seat majority enjoyed by the Democrats in the Iowa House evaporated, and tonight the Republicans control the House for the first time in a decade. The Democrats still control the Senate, but an 8-seat advantage has dwindled to just 2.
It was a team effort. The legislative efforts worked with the congressional races. Jim Nussle and Jim Lightfoot ran great campaigns, but the legislative races in their areas helped them. They helped the races. Chuck Grassley being on the ballot, I mean, how can you help but love 72%?
Gaining control of the House means the Republicans will also control all the committees and the coveted Speaker's position. The man who lost that job last night says the Democrats will still have a strong voice.
As Democrats, we'll continue to have an agenda to make sure that we take care of the basic safety net for people, to make sure education is funded, to work for good-paying jobs. So even though we're 49 instead of 55, we'll still have a Democratic agenda.
Now, redistricting and retirement both cost the Democrats big last night, and you can see it best when you look inside the numbers. There were 9 races in the House of Representatives that pitted 2 sitting incumbents against one another. The Republicans won 6 of those 9. And several of the races were very close. 5 decided by less than 55 votes. 3 of them decided by less than 20. And a majority were open seats that were abandoned by sitting Democrats. Now, absentee ballots are still being counted in many of those close races, but I talked with party officials today who say they doubt it will have any outcome in those races. John, Kim.
Scott, Iowa bucked the trend we saw in other states last night, didn't it?
Yes and no. There was no Clinton coattails, which did carry on throughout the rest of the country. But NBC exit polling, John, in several states showed that a majority of the people felt it was important to have a president and a Congress from the same party. Of course, that couldn't happen in Iowa. They were thinking about the governor and the legislature. John?
All right. Thank you, Scott. Some of you may have gone to bed before the final returns came in last night, so we want to give you a look at some of those key races. In the presidential race, Bill Clinton picked up 43% of the vote, 38% for George Bush. A couple of close congressional races. In Northeast Iowa, Republican Jim Nussle edged out Democrat Dave Nagle. And in the 3rd District, Republican Congressman Jim Ross Lightfoot held off a strong challenge from Secretary of State Elaine Baxter.
Despite the best campaign staff and volunteers that a candidate could want, we didn't make it. We fought the good fight, and I loved every minute of it.
Praised this, there were some tremendous odds out there, and to be able to pull this one out when we were ranked as the most vulnerable incumbent in the country, it makes it a pretty sweet victory.
While this year produced the usual amount of winners and losers, more voters decided who would serve in which office.
And to people we spoke to at a Des Moines restaurant this morning, that may have been the most pleasant surprise of last night's election.
Next 4 years, a lot more people are going to be able to take credit or complain about what happened just for the mere fact that they did vote. The first time I ever voted in my life was last night.
The United States has had a reputation of being apathetic toward the elections, and I think the turnout was really important, that people were starting to say, hey, we want to have a voice in who's being elected, and I think it was very good for the country that so many people came out to vote.
If there's one thing I can say, I guess it proves that the American process works and that elections can be had, and hopefully we'll go on from here.
Look now at a couple more of those important races all those voters decided upon last night. Measure A, a referendum dealing with casino-style gambling in Polk County, was approved by 57 to 43% vote. And despite a strong showing of support early, the Equal Rights Amendment to the Iowa Constitution was voted down, drawing response today from both sides of that hotly debated issue.
Keep fighting and struggling until it actually happens. There's a lot of determination out there and enthusiasm, and women and men in the states surely believe in equality, and they're going to keep fighting until it happens.
I don't think people of Iowa were fooled a bit by the ERA. I think we told the truth, and they know we told the truth, and that's how the vote went. We're very pleased.
Now, while the ERA here had some national significance, the presidential race, of course, took the real national spotlight.
Today, President Bush returned to the White House to a hero's welcome. Bush was welcomed home by a cheering crowd. He said he hopes history will show his administration contributed something to this country. President-elect Bill Clinton now thinking about the work that lies ahead. Word out of Washington tonight is that Senator Tom Harkin is among those Clinton might consider as the Secretary of Labor. It may not seem like it, but there has been other news besides the election. Still ahead, a verdict in the Joanne Taggart child endangerment trial in Council Bluffs.
And find out firsthand what life is like on the streets of Des Moines. A look at 48 Hours Homeless when the news continues.
So I hear you made an investment.
Yeah, I got a computer.
You don't come to me for a loan.
I didn't need one.
What do you mean you don't need a loan, huh?
Well, Best Buy has this financing thing where I got a computer, but without the interest.
No interest. No interest.
Get 0% financing for 6 months. No payments, no interest on any computer at Best Buy. Like this Packard Bell 486SX with 170 meg hard drive, 4 meg memory, monitor, printer, and more, all for just $17.68.
It was an offer I couldn't refuse.
To really tell tetracyclines apart, you have to be a microbiologist. Or a pig. So choose Oleomycin chlortetracycline. It's proven effective, and it's the only one that's granular. Oleomycin, for easier mixing and healthier pigs.
Introducing Hardee's Fried Chicken.
It's delicious. It's good. I like it.
The only fried chicken I eat now.
It's better than my wife makes. Oh, come on.
The fried chicken people preferred over KFC original recipe 63 to 37.
No, it doesn't surprise me.
I'd suggest it to anybody. It's good.
Absolutely.
And now, here's a deal that'll really blow you away. 8 pieces of Hardee's new fried chicken are now only $6.99, including 4 free biscuits.
What more do you want?
Are you ready for some real food? Hardee's.
Got a second? Let's talk about my Chevy Lumina. No, I'm not a famous actress. I'm just an average Iowan like you. So you can relate when I say safety is important, especially when the kids are along. Lumina's anti-lock brakes really convinced us. They say you can't put a price on the important things like safety. Believe me, this little number is worth it.
The Chevy Sticker Police are on patrol. That means Lumina's sticker price is unchanged from last year. See your Central Iowa Chevy Geo dealer today.
News Center 13, voted best newscast in Iowa by the Iowa Broadcast News Association.
A Council Bluffs jury didn't believe Joanne Taggart when she said she didn't know that her boyfriend was abusing her son.
The Des Moines mother has been found guilty of endangering the life of her 4-year-old son, Jonathan Waller. Taggart wept yesterday as the verdict was read. Now she faces up to 30 years in prison. During the trial, Taggart insisted she didn't see Jonathan's bruises. Taggart is free tonight, awaiting her January 4th sentencing. Tonight at 10, Lori Groves talks with Jonathan's family about the verdict and the future. A guilty verdict in the Edward DeAces murder trial. A Lee County jury found DeAces guilty of the first-degree murder of a fellow inmate at Fort Madison. DeAces is already serving a life sentence for the Ames murder of Jennifer Gardner, and he now faces a second life sentence.
Imagine you're sitting at home and all of a sudden a car comes barreling into your house. That's what happened this afternoon on the city's east side. Police spotted a man driving this white Honda, checked the hot sheet, and found out the car was stolen. It wasn't long before the chase was on. The driver tried to ditch police by squeezing between a house and a fence, and as you can see, that didn't work.